What do you guys think of the ending? We'll end on that. That's a good ending spot.
With the epilogue?
Plus the game, yeah. I mean,
the actual ending was nice and low key for me. I like the sword fight.
The epilogue chapter was awesome, but yes, that boss fight actually, I was really scared because the boss fights in these type of games usually suck. Like,
really shit. Yeah.
Like it's not just Uncharted. It's Tomb Raider. Any of these weird like third person action adventure type games, they always have the worst boss fights. Yeah. And this one I actually enjoyed a little bit. It was fun. And it was like totally fitting.
And it shouldn't have been as good as it was because it was introducing a sword which you've never used in an Uncharted game ever before. He hasn't even held a sword ever before. And you've had to, learn how to dodge and block left and right. You are using things that you've just never had to use before. And mechanically as well, but it looked cool as fuck. And Rafe, he has these great one-liners, and it's just all the treasure is burning around you. And I got really stressed out because all the gold was melting. And I was just like, no, just let's quickly get to the end of this fight so I can try and save some treasure. That's not the point of the game at all. But yeah, it was good.
Yep, same feelings. Like I loved it. Like obviously it was very heavily inspired by Goonies. Like, oh look, an old spooky treasure ship in a big old cave, and now the cave's falling apart. Let's poor One-Eyed Willie and his friend Two-Eyed Bill. Yeah, it was great because I wasn't sure what to expect with like a final boss battle, because obviously like you knew it was gonna come, and I think it was like really really well done because it was.
I didn't expect it to be with him at all though. I really didn't expect any kind of boss encounter with Rafe because he didn't seem like that kind of guy, but he, at that point in the story, it made sense because he was batshit crazy.
Because I figured like maybe like a shootout on the boat or something, because obviously like they did some melee combat in the boss fight for the third one, but the first two you were just shooting at dudes. So thankfully it wasn't that. And well, like I mentioned before, like Rafe had great dialogue and it was a nice little ending, and it was tense at the end. Like you're like, oh, are they gonna make it out? Like for half a second you think like he's gonna leave. Like Sam is gonna
think Sam was gonna die then.
Yeah, he's just gonna have to leave him behind.
I didn't have time to process how I felt about him dying, but then he didn't, and it was fine. And then I'm left feeling, oh, I'm actually really glad that no one died. On that note, me and Kevin were talking about this before. I don't get why people wanted a dark ending or a death or some kind of ending like that to make it have meaning. As it is, no one died and we had a really happy ending and it was still fucking great.
Yeah, I felt the same way. Like there was early on when the game was getting announced and stuff, I was like, I wouldn't mind if they went out, because it was called A Thief's End and everyone was like, oh shit.
Yeah. He's gonna die. It's Thief's End.
And I was like, I wouldn't mind that as long as it's done like right. And I was hoping, and a part of me was hoping they would, just so I wouldn't ever have to deal with them making another Uncharted game. Because I'd rather
too much money, Evan.
I'd rather see them do new stuff. Like they've been doing this shit for so goddamn long.
Yeah.
And I know Last of Us is quote-unquote different, but it's not that. And so I was like, yeah, maybe killing them so I wouldn't have to deal with it anymore. But I actually really liked the ending, and I really liked the epilogue especially. I was like, because it ends and you're like, we got out. Boom, let's sail on out of here. Let's say bye. And then I was like, that's cool. And then the epilogue was awesome. It's probably my favorite chapter, aside from I think it was 11. There's some debate on when the car chase was. But yeah, the epilogue was fantastic.
Yeah, that is the real cap to the series that you needed. The ending that we had in the chapter before, that's the end of this game's story, but that's not the end of the series. Yeah, to have a final cap, just start to finish, perfect. I can't wait to go back a little bit and just, because there was whole rooms at their house I didn't see, and of course I should mention that you were playing as Drake's daughter. Whoa, didn't see that coming. And is her name Cassie?
Cassie,
yep. Cassie. Kevin, what did you think about that? Just kind of go into that a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, it was a huge surprise because I thought, it would just, there was that fade to white as you're escaping from the pirate ship with the really nice, somber, tense music, and then you wash up on the beach or whatever. And then I'm trying to remember because I skipped all the cutscenes most of the cutscenes on my other playthroughs.
Crash Bandicoot next.
I actually won that one.
Yeah. No, she buys you the shipping salvage company, and then it goes the epilogue.
Right. I forgot about that.
So it opened, I was like, oh, I'm playing Crash again. Cool, that's cool.
I thought it was just gonna be like Drake sitting on the couch because he says I'll beat your score at the end of the buying thing. He's like,
I was so busy I was so busy being frustrated at Crash Bandicoot because I'm really bad at it. I'm really bad at it, and I kept dying, and I actually lost all my lives, and he was looking really sad because I got no points, and I was like, oh, fuck shit. And then suddenly, whoa, it's Cassie! What? My mind was blown because my head just wasn't in the right place at all.
Because I mean, like, it's great because, like, obviously, like, they took from The Last of Us, like, some of the environmental storytelling. So, like, there is this, like, nice beach house that you can explore, and there's
God, they have such a nice house.
Yeah, there's so much great stuff. There's Savage Starlight 2 reference. There's Last of Us possibly 2 Easter egg in there. And there's just, like, so much great stuff to look at. And there's, like, a note from Sully about working with Sam, like they're gonna visit. You can feed the dog like 3 or 4 treats.
I only did 2. I was like, I don't want to make it fatter.
Make it sick.
Only
like
Naughty Dog.
That's the best dog.
Only Naughty Dog would add such a really well done dog at the very end of a game. Like, to do that dog, to do it to that level of animation is really time intensive, like really hard to do. And they're like, yeah, we'll just do it for this a 5-minute bit of the game, kind of right at the end. Like, the dog was awesome. Yeah, it's great too, because I'm not sure if you guys saw it, but when you're in the market, if you buy this apple from a vendor, and then if you interact with a lemur, and the lemur steals your apple. And then you have this nice little conversation with Sully, and you talk about if you get a dog, you're going to name it after Sully or Victor, and that's what the dog's name is. So I didn't even see that part until my 3rd playthrough. Then I was like, oh, holy shit, that's why they named the dog Victor, which is like I said, like all the little collectibles.
I was blazing through the game.
Yeah, like I said, like they're like that, like optional stuff like ties in. And it's great. So
it ties into the earlier chapter as well, which we also didn't talk about, which is one of my favourite bits of the game, with a Drake in the attic, and he's at home, and he's just like an average guy, and he's just going through all his old stuff. He's got his old journals and things like that, and then he gets out a toy gun, and there's like a fake music in the background, and he's like going through his old memories. Basically, that was just great. And then to have a Cassie at the end going through that same stuff, going, oh, what's this coin? Oh, what's this thing? And it was just really, really good.
Yeah, like they hit the nostalgia bone right on or nail on the head. Like it was like such a nice bookend, and obviously like it introduces a lot of stuff that Uncharted makes too much money for Sony for them not to do something again. I mean, Liam and I talked about it a little bit. Whether obviously I don't think there's not going to be a Nathan Drake Uncharted, but obviously like a Cassie Drake Uncharted, or we talked about the DLC, because obviously if they do DLC again, whether you're playing as Sam and Sully, or like something that would be super cool is if you play as Cassandra, if you play as their mom, or if you play as something to do with obviously like, Cassandra and the spooky old lady,
the super old lady who just looked like she was so well realized as an old person in a video game. She creeped me the fuck out. She was like, I am looking at a dying old woman, and it's gross. And then she did die, and it's like, oh my god.
But yeah, like I'm super excited, like, because hopefully they do some DLC, and hopefully, obviously, like it was super interesting what they did with Left Behind, because they improved on some of the stuff that they did in The Last of Us and made like
I was gonna say, Evan, you didn't play that, did you? The Last of Us DLC?
Nope.
You didn't play that.
I redboxed that game too, so I didn't.
Because like quite a lot of Uncharted 4 and the bits that you're talking about liking is very heavily inspired by that.
Yeah, because like in Left Behind, like there's a sequence where you're in like an old Halloween shop and you're just putting on masks, which is similar to like when you're in the old mansion and you can like put on those different like the samurai helmet or like the Viking helmet or whatever. Like hopefully like they do something interesting for story DLC. Hopefully that they do something interesting and it's not just, oh, here's Sam and Sully 6 months later on an adventure. Hopefully they do something cool, because they definitely leave some threads open that can.
They probably can't do Cassie. I mean, they could. They absolutely could, but I just mean that wouldn't that tread a little bit too closely to a Tomb Raider? You know what I mean? Just in terms of like, it's a woman archaeologist who likes treasure and likes to shoot stuff. Like, it is a little bit too similar at that point, but that would be cool as well, because she is much more likable than Lara Croft for sure. So. God.
Yeah, like, and as much as I, like, just steamrolled through the game, like, I didn't give 2 shits about, the little lockets or weird keys you could find. I totally was, like, walking, like, the epilogue chapter probably took me longer than most other chapters, just because I was like, oh yeah, I'll totally fucking walk around this whole island. And their little like office side house with all the cool shit in it was really interesting to look at.
And did you have that moment when you went out to the beach, when you're going from the house right onto this gorgeous beach, and I was like, oh, this island feels so good. Like, the sand and the way it blows, I was like, I want to be here right now.
I was super jealous. Yeah, I was
great.
like, damn.
Do you think that they're living on Avery's Island? Because I know they didn't really clarify that, but there was a point where you're talking to Elena, like that. Oh, this
she
island.
mentions about the vacation. Yeah.
Like this is a beautiful island. Like it would be a great place to vacation. And I know they didn't address it, but I was like, are they actually living on Avery's Island still? Like,
why would you ever want to live on that island again? You're like, we had a terrible experience.
Well, the
back
nice
on this
part
island.
that you didn't explore.
Yeah, exactly.
Section.
No, I don't think it was. I think it was just some nice fucking beach.
Could be, yeah.
They're rich as shit.
Well, there's also
Probably own the island.
There's in the side house thing. There's a map of the Yucatan Peninsula, so I thought that's where it was.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
They're like mapping out everything around. She's like, "Oh, they almost got it nailed down." And I was like, "I think they live on the Yucatan Peninsula." But I really liked going through the house and looking at everything, or going out to the dock and hanging out with the dog. She's like, "Go find him," and the dog just sits down. And I'm like, "You worthless piece of shit." But yeah, I really liked it overall. Like, I've been a notoriously hardcore naysayer for this franchise because, let's be honest, like this one is leagues better than any of the other ones.
It is for sure. Like,
yeah, it's just not as cheeky and stupid, like in this weird wink way.
I don't mind that. I love Uncharted 2, but I kind of find it hard to go back and play. And I have, when the Uncharted collection came out just before Christmas, I tried them all, and then that's all I did. Because it was like, there are some good moments, and what I really enjoyed about those games was the way the writing was put together. But as like a game, as a thing that you play from start to finish, there was these big long moments of just like, this is pretty boring, this is quite repetitive, this isn't quite as tight as it could be. But yeah, before, I want to play that over and over again. Not straight away, but it is there for me to play, and that's good. So
I'll probably never play it again, but I liked playing it this time.
Yeah.
How long?
That's the one thing I'm glad that it won you over.